You're listening to Talk Daredevil, a podcast about all things Daredevil in the greater Marvel Universe, brought to you by the women behind Saved Daredevil.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talk Daredevil. Today we'll be discussing She-Hulk. The comics, our hopes for the TV show, and all that stuff. I'm Christine, and joining me today are...
Hey, I'm Shelby.
Hey, it's Kacey.
So much fun to have the sort of the comics crew united again to talk, and we're all very, very excited. Let's actually start there, just talking about how excited we are about the She-Hulk TV show, which will be out very soon. And by the time you guys hear this, it'll probably be like coming, the next few days. So what are you guys most excited for?
When we first heard about this, I think what was it? It was just that we heard Daredevil was going to be in She-Hulk. And I thought, how are they going to do that? But, now we've got little snippets along that it's really going to be more than that. We're going to get to see some Matt and Jen maybe go head to head, and the yellow suit. And, can we be more hyped? This is the first time that we're going to get to see Matt really, interact with somebody on screen in the Disney Plus Marvel Studios MCU. So I'm excited.
And doing more than catch one brick, too.
Right.
Yes.
Even though that was glorious, that was a glorious scene. Let's not dunk on the brick scene, but this seems to be a little bit more than that. So
I think it looks like it'll be a fun show. Not just because our Daredevil's going to be in it, but the cast looks like it'll be fun and they have a good rapport with each other. But I'm not going to lie. I totally saw the clip of Daredevil in the yellow suit, and I might have cried.
Christine, you were at San Diego Comic-Con when you first got the look.
Yes,
and then
I
Kacey
did.
and I were in the Discord chat. So we were all losing our minds over the suit because we didn't know.
Yeah, that was so unexpected. And just as a short kind of, retrospective, those of us who were in Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con, we were not sure that we were going to get any kind of news or anything. And we most definitely did not expect an appearance in a She-Hulk trailer. So this was after the big news came that Daredevil was going to come back and have his own new show. So this was just icing on the cake. The She-Hulk panel came right after that. So instead of paying attention, I think most of us were just totally numb. We couldn't grapple with anything really. So everyone was like, what? Does anyone remember anything from the She-Hulk panel? And we didn't really, none of us. But then at the end when they showed the trailer and there was that, because it's that final bit, after sort of they do the credits again at the end of the trailer. It's after that was when they had that Daredevil scene, and we just about lost it. So, but even aside from that, I have to say that I think with or without Matt, I'm as excited as everyone is about seeing him come back and face off against another lawyer. We'll talk more about that. But aside from that, it looks like a really fun show. It looks like the people in the show had fun shooting the show, and it looks like everyone, when they're talking about it, they all just sound pretty confident that they put together something that is entertaining and just fun and engaging. And I'm really looking forward to the show overall. I like the trailers. They had the early trailers where they got a lot of criticism for the low quality CGI, but I think that one's been touched up a bit too. And it's just I like what I'm seeing. It's going to be really interesting. So just before we go into the comics, side of things you should tell our listeners that we all were fairly new to She-Hulk comics before we decided to read some before recording this pod. We had all, I think, read the more recent stuff where there's a crossover where Matt appears in the She-Hulk run by Soule and Pulido from 2014. So that's pretty much all of, I think, was really the extent of our experience with She-Hulk. So we set out to get a better sense of who She-Hulk is. And maybe I should go back first into sort of the history. I decided to actually pick up, not pick up, I have Marvel Unlimited. So I decided to read the first She-Hulk run, which is started in 1980, which is called Savage She-Hulk. And it is a 25-issue run. And it is, I should probably know the name of the person who wrote it, but I don't at the moment. So we'll put that in the show note. But it's got She-Hulk's origin, and it's got it's a pretty solid 25 issues. Like seriously, one of the reasons, I mean, we were just going to do research for this. I'm like, oh, I'll just read the origin issue. And then I just kind of kept reading because I thought it was interesting. They've got Jennifer Walters in the original issue. She doesn't look much like I remember her looking from her later appearances, even though, of course, now in the more modern comics, she's in her She-Hulk persona a lot. But in the, of course, earlier comics, she switches kind of between She-Hulk and Jennifer Walters more. But anyway, the origin is that she's an attorney, criminal defense lawyer. She works out of LA, and she has found herself kind of on the wrong side of, she's in a little dust up with the mob, shall we say, where she bravely goes up against them. She's defending a guy.
The good old mob.
A good 1980s mob confrontation. Anyway, so she's taking a lot of risks, and they have these mob people who are out to get her. And while she's under this threat, then her cousin Bruce Banner shows up to visit her, and apparently they haven't seen each other in many years for some reason that they don't even go into, because it's oh, we were like brother and sister, and then apparently they just fell out of touch. But they do also talk about how he's quite a bit older than she is, which I know is something that people are commenting on when it comes to the both the actors and the characters in the She-Hulk show, that it's there's quite a bit of an age difference. But apparently that's, I mean, not uncommon with cousins, but also seems to have been a thing in the comics as well. So anyway, she's shot by the mob while Bruce is there. And he has just told her that he's also the Hulk, by the way, because she didn't know that before then. I don't think anyone else in the family knew that. And then he's trying to save her. So he gives her, he finds a clinic where he can do this. He gives her a blood transfusion. And then after that, she's taken to the hospital to, I guess, get treated for her actual bullet wound. And then, so gradually from there is where she gets her powers, and I think they're aiming for something similar in the show. But the first run of She-Hulk, for people who don't know, not only does she not break the fourth wall or do any of that stuff, that was something that came along with Byrne's take on She-Hulk, which started in 1989. And it's also not necessarily a humor. If you read the Soule Polita run, which we'll get to later, that one is it's quirkier, it's supposed to be kind of funny, or, it has that lighter tone. But these first 25 issues are actually pretty dark. In the second issue, her best friend dies, and then she's got everyone thinking she's a murderer because she's being set up, and there's all of this stuff going on.
God.
She has a falling out with her dad. Her dad It's her dad hates She-Hulk.
You are selling me on this run. I did not realize that this is gritty. This is
yeah. And I'm not going to give it all away. I can tell you, her best friend dies in the second issue, so that's not too much of a spoiler. It's a 25 issue run. Dark stuff happens, and she's got all of this, her identity struggles, where she's feeling super empowered as She-Hulk, and she's feeling very sort of just tired and stressed as Jennifer. And she's got this super, the district attorney she goes up against all the time, who's someone called Buck Bukowski, who's got these 1980s really horrible disco glasses, and he's real prick, and he's just so mean to her, and he belittles her all the time. And there are so many people you read about in these first stories that you just want to hit them or something. I mean, and then, so she's got a very sort of complicated life with her friends and family and everything. And it is seriously, people, go read this.
I think I got to read this now, because I was really only familiar with her through Avengers sort of stuff, Carol Danvers, her relationship with Captain Marvel. So now, I want to go back and read the dark stuff.
Yeah, because it's dark and kind of gritty, and it's very insightful. It's I was not expecting that level of depth.
No.
But it's really quite ambitious. For the most part, it's actually pretty surprisingly grounded and kind of gritty and very dramatic. So yeah, definitely go read those. But another thing I wanted to say before I kind of turn the floor over to you guys, or turn it back, is that one thing that surprised me about the early issues too is that how much it focuses still on her life as a lawyer. She's much more actively in her lawyer persona and her civilian life than Matt is. I wonder if the difference is that she was a lawyer when this happened to her. So it came later, her whole powers, everything came into an already fully formed life, so to speak. Whereas in Matt's case, it's just like that's like one thing he does, but it's not such a huge, overwhelming aspect of like his personality. I think it should be more of one. Actually, I want to see more legal stuff with Matt, but with Jennifer, it's like they're not afraid of going like, hey, procedural law drama in that book at all. There's like it's a constant thing throughout almost every issue that there's like it's related to some kind of case, or there's at least a case going on in the background, and her work is very, very important. So
there was actually a quick, like 1 second clip within that newest trailer that Jennifer said, I did not go to law school to become a vigilante.
Oh, Jennifer, you just don't even know. So what kind of skills does she have in that run, Christine? Like, what is her fighting style? Is it all just brute force, or
there's a lot of brute force, not much beyond that. She doesn't have really nothing that's hard to explain. She does have one thing that happens to her in the early run though, is that she does develop like a blood disorder from the exposure that she got when she got the blood transfusion. So she will have these progressively worsening sort of spells, either when she like switches between She-Hulk and Jennifer, or even like she'll have like times when she's She-Hulk where she will be like drained and weak. So she has a one friend who knows about her being She-Hulk, and he's a med student, and also her neighbor growing up, so they know each other from childhood. And he takes a sample of her blood and has that tested, and they realize that she's got this disease and she needs to be treated by Dr. Morbius, of all people.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like tie-ins with all these other really well-known Marvel characters. So again, super fun run to read. Savage She-Hulk.
So is she going to say it's Morbin time in the show?
Oh my God, I was about to say that.
I hope not. But it's interesting that she does actually get, because it's always like, you always have these characters who, they got all this radioactivity and like they get powers, but nothing bad happens. But in her case, he actually does develop some kind of disease from this. But of course, there's like an easy serum, like an antidote.
She gets like a fainting sickness. Oh.
Honestly, though, she's really not the way she's written. Like, there's a lot of like 1980s type of like misogyny in this run, but it's not that it's very like pro Jennifer all around, but she's like treated like shit by a lot of like the men around her, but it's like you're rooting for her like consistently, because it's very clear to the reader that she knows her stuff. She's very good at her job, and that even though she's got these like self-doubts as Jennifer, it's still like to the reader it's clear that no, Jennifer also kicks ass. It's a nice kind of character study that way. But she feels very powerful being She-Hulk, of course. So
that's good, because I was reading on the Wikipedia page about her skills, and it does say even in her Jennifer Walters form, she possesses sufficient skill in the martial art.
I think that must have developed later.
To dispatch several would-be muggers.
Yeah, maybe if you spent enough time in the She-Hulk body, like you pick stuff up that you can also use when you're like Jennifer.
It also says she was trained by Captain America and Gamora.
Oh, that's not from the first run, so that probably happens.
Uses acupressure to render abomination.
Yeah, no, she's only got like in the first run. There's only brute strength. That's pretty much it. It's a Hulk thing, but there's nothing like she doesn't, no energy blasts or anything like that. It's just the strength.
Yeah, I feel like from the clips we've seen, we're going to get like a quick, maybe, origin and her trying to figure her powers out. So she might not be as skilled as she is as an Avenger later on down the road. Also says now this is funny, you guys. It also says she is a skilled pilot and has previously used a modified 1995 Dodge automobile equipped with technology enabling flight in Earth's atmosphere.
Well, I suspect that must have happened after 1995, though.
Oh my God, a 1995 Dodge?
But have you had a 1995 Dodge? Because my mom did, and that thing was a tank.
Okay, so it could. Okay.
Well, Kacey, yeah, maybe it takes special expertise to handle it really well. That's her power. But anyway, it seems like she's kind of evolved quite a bit as a character since that first run. Like we mentioned, the fourth wall breaking, happens in starting in 1989, I guess, during the John Byrne when he was a writer. And then there's, not too much of that, though, in the, like, if you want to talk about the 2014 issues where our boy Matt also appears.
Before we get into talking about the comics that we all read, probably the biggest question a lot of fans have is why is Matt classified as a vigilante and can be disbarred, but Jennifer does not? Or at least in everything that I've looked over, she has never been disbarred. And Matt has during the Wade run. And there's always been that little bit of danger. From what I can figure out, the short answer is Marvel has classified Matt as a vigilante. And Marvel has classified Jen as not. But the long answer that I figured out, maybe, was that Matt isn't really backed by any of the government agencies like S.H.I.E.L.D. or SWORD or any other ones in the comics. And he also doesn't trust S.H.I.E.L.D. That's a different, sidetrack. He did have like that small stint in the New Avengers with Luke Cage, but I guess that didn't really count as having any sort of government blessing, I guess. But he also he does a lot of daredeviling in his cases. And that's a lot of reason to, throw out evidence.
Yeah, Matt makes things tricky for everybody.
Yeah. And then with Jennifer, it's really hard to hide her Hulk status. So it's kind of already disclosed, unlike Matt disclosing that he's Daredevil to his clients. And she has been in several superhero groups that are maybe backed by S.H.I.E.L.D. and maybe not. But I think it really comes down to is both their reasons add drama. With Matt's vigilantism, you're always like, ooh, is he going to get caught? And with Jennifer, you're like, ooh, is she going to Hulk out in the courtroom?
Yeah, it still seems kind of a sketchy area.
And it really just comes down to the writer and the editor.
Yeah, that's usually how these stories work. It's like the common question that so many people ask on the internet: would this hero beat that hero in a fight? And I always say it depends on what the writer wants for that particular issue. And I think that's the case for a lot of these things, where it's like it's been set up a certain way that, I mean, these are like the parameters. And I think with her, especially now more recently, where it's like very clear that she is the Hulk, then it's I guess it also forces her to separate her lawyering from her She-Hulk hulking activities, so they don't interfere.
If you
too
Hulk
much.
out in court, does that get your case? Like, do you have to start over then? Is that a mistrial when you Hulk out?
I don't know. Do we know anything about that? I'm looking at Kacey.
I just wonder. All I have to go on is the trial of an Incredible Hulk movie where he hulked out. I guess we'll find out.
Maybe it's just a recess. I guess it depends on the judge.
Yeah, they'll call a recess and be like, Jen, take a chill pill. Come back in an hour.
I mean, we all have those days, right?
Yeah, you just can't tell on the outside.
Yes.
I guess it's harder to hide your emotions if you're... I mean, now that she's in like kind of her Hulk persona most of the time, it's different. But I'm thinking like going back... Well, I'm going to have to read all of those issues, because that's another thing. Like what I realized after reading the first round, it's like, oh, I want to read more She-Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
So... we'll definitely have to read more She-Hulk before the show comes out, and maybe we can answer those questions in more detail. So, how about Matt and Jen facing off in court? What's the history there?
In 2005 is like their first official meeting during House of M, but that was like an alternate storyline, if I'm like an alternate universe, if I'm remembering that correctly. And there was like that tabloid. And I think it was in the second issue. It sounds like like a celebrity page 6 about She-Hulk and Jennifer and Matt flirting in the courtroom.
It's very like Kim Kardashian, Pete, whatever his name is, that kind, written that way, very tabloidy. Like, here's these two lawyers. She's green, he's blind. People can correct us if we're wrong. I mean, that's the first crossover that we found of the two, was in 2005 in this House of M, which is it's a very sad story, but having to deal with Wanda, and I know Wanda is really big right now, and I'm sure most people have read it or at least know the story. But
yeah, I read House of M quite a few years ago. I really liked it, but it is heavy stuff. But it's interesting, though, we were talking about that before we started recording, that how they, like the two most famous superhero lawyers haven't met really much in the comics at all until quite recently. So it's that's going to be great to see in the show, to see how they play off each other.
Yeah, we need more of that.
Yes.
We need more lawyer Matt everywhere. Comics, show.
So do we want to maybe talk about the few encounters they have had that have been more recent from
because we have to
2014?
skip forward like almost 10 years before they cross over again.
And it takes a writer who is a lawyer to do this.
I like this one, you guys. This is good. The entire run, not just the Matt. I mean, I think I went into it thinking I was just going to read the Matt issues, and then I was like, no, I'm going to read the whole thing, and I loved it.
Yeah, it's really fun. I love what they're doing with it. I love the tone, how it does have that, it's a fun, also sometimes funny, but definitely fun kind of romp that, I mean, it does hit some serious notes as well, of course, but very entertaining and very well written. And you can tell that it's by a
and you
lawyer.
got some big players like Victor Von Doom's son is why she initially wants to talk to Matt, because she's representing him and she wants some advice. And you get that cute little panel where they're on the bridge together. And I'm like, please let me have this in the show.
What's interesting about that scene, though, is that it takes place while Matt is in California and Jennifer's based in New York. Whereas in the show, it's going to be the other way around, presumably. And it's also the case that the original She-Hulk is also set in LA. So they are both so in this Soule Polito during that run, they are actually in each other's birthplaces. So it's a bit of a mix up there. So that's interesting. But they don't mention anything about that during the story itself. But it's a thing that, since I just read the She-Hulk stuff, it kind of occurred to me that's
and then they joke that they've never gone head to head, and she's like, be careful what you wish for.
Some foreshadowing.
And then they sort of do some like crime busting together. They do some like hulking and daredeviling together in some panels.
Yeah, that was fun.
I love how in so many comics it's almost, when the heroes do that together, it's almost portrayed as a kind of dance, where they just go out and just look like super, I don't know, elegant on the page.
Yeah, those are some of the prettiest pages, those spreads, when they're just going full at it.
During that run, also, we should mention that She-Hulk is in her own, just starts her own private practice as a solo practicing lawyer, whereas it looks like in the show she works for a larger firm.
Or a DA? Isn't that what didn't I see that somewhere? That on the door, that she's assistant district attorney?
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Is she? Oh, maybe she is. Oh, yeah.
That's what I saw.
See that? Yeah, that you're probably right. I probably was not paying attention to that.
I took somebody else on the internet. I don't pay attention like some of these folks. It took the internet to show me that.
You trust people on the internet, Shelby?
I know. But I was like, oh, that might be how they go head to head.
Yeah, it's either that or like there's a civil case or something.
Which is what we get into in the Soule run, is a civil thing. Old man Steve Rogers.
Yes.
A wrongful death suit, and we got Matt on one side and Jen on the other. Matt representing the plaintiff, Jen representing Captain America, and you come to find out later on, surprise, all orchestrated by Captain America, because he wanted the best on both sides. So let the showdown begin.
Yes, and it is quite a showdown, and there's a lot of like lawyer talk in these issues.
It is very courtroom legalese, superhero legalese heavy. Lots of text, which isn't usually Charles Soule's way he does things with the courtroom, though. You needed a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, it's also funny. I love that she calls Matt because she needs a firm to use to go back to California to practice law. And she calls Matt, and because she's like, I know somebody over there. And she calls Matt, and he pretty much is like, okay, no, bye. Nope, gotta go. Bye.
I kind of compared the courtroom scenes from She-Hulk to the one in Daredevil during Soule's run, where yes, it's very like, it looks very much like an episode of Law and Order with the She-Hulk run. But in this Soule run, when Matt is going up against the Supreme Court, I love that there was that battle with the justices. It was a representation of the argument, but it looked like he was fighting with the Supreme Court judges. So I feel like that was a different way that the artist and the writer could interpret a court scene for superheroes.
Yeah, it's one of the things that's also kind of tricky about adapting like legal work for entertainment. And I mean, we noticed this in Daredevil season 2 with the Punisher, where everything happens like really unnaturally fast. Like, this trial starts tomorrow, and there is if going back to like the first She-Hulk issues too, like from 1980. There's a lot of that too, where it's like it doesn't like the story kind of requires the wheels of justice to turn very, very fast in ways that they don't actually do in real life. And I think it's kind of the same with the whole Captain America trial too. It's like, hey, let's, it's from one day to the next. It's like they're in a courtroom. And I guess that's one of those things that it's hard to get around when you're writing comics, because the pacing has to be at a, well, I mean, it has to be adapted for comics.
Yeah, and it was such a good issue because there was no hulking out. Like it was just them going head to head, and I want to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, especially on television and movies, you really can. Court drama can be very, very compelling. So it's something that we've seen it done really, really well with She-Hulk. And I mean, it's been done well occasionally in the Daredevil comics as well, but and you see it like in these issues that we're talking about now. But it is even easier to do when it's live action. So it's something that I really hope that we get a lot of. I mean, everyone's excited to see Daredevil in the new suit and everything, or newish, oldish new, old new, reimagined Daredevil suit. But I think we're also looking forward to some legal action between the two, because I think that would be perfect for television.
Okay, then. Well, what do you guys think about the lawyer bar? Because that's the next time we get a Jen and Matt crossover, is also Charles Soule in the 2015 Daredevil run. Would you guys like to see the lawyer bar?
Yes.
Yes. We get Matt asking Jen for advice this time on his, the big Supreme Court case brief thing, lawyer stuff. And then, of course, there's some smashy stuff that goes on, but yeah, I would love to see the lawyer bar.
Was it Tombstone was sent after to kill Matt in the hopes that this case goes away?
Yes. And she has to Hulk out and smash up the bar, and she's like, oh dear.
Yes. But it was nice to see the two of them interacting again.
I love that they go to each other for advice. I like the friendly lawyer stuff.
Yes. You always need a work bestie.
You do. And I wonder at what point, because so in the She-Hulk Soul run, she knows Matt is Daredevil. Then we go to Soule's Daredevil run, Purple Children, she doesn't know.
Don't remind me. I hate memory wipes. I hate them so much.
I can't wait to see if that is going to play out.
I really hope that they don't have Matt. Okay, let me put it this way. One thing I really appreciated with the Daredevil show was that Matt didn't have to spend very much time around people as Daredevil who didn't know about him. Like the most I can remember was like Ben Urich in like the first season. Like Ben Urich never finds out. So that kind of makes sense to me. But I have this like kind of aversion to the idea that Daredevil could spend say several hours around someone and them not figure out that he's blind. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. So I really appreciate it in the Daredevil show that, Claire, she finds out, right away. In the Defenders, they find out right away. To me, there's just I know that Daredevil's often written in a way where it's like, you're supposed to go along with this notion that he can pretend not to be blind and nobody would notice. And it's like, I just don't buy it. Also buy my book if you want a full explanation of that. Parentheses, no, but joking aside. But I mean, it's like, I hope they don't strain credulity by having, I suspect they're going to want to introduce, like have them both find out about each other. I mean, I guess he would know about her, but I mean, I just assume that she's going to find out about him pretty soon too, because that's what's happened in all of the previous encounters he's had, like during the Netflix era. So
looking forward to it, because this is supposed to be like the first dramedy, I guess if you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that. How do y'all feel about lighter Matt Murdock?
Oh yeah, that's been a very hot topic on the Daredevil side of the internet too. It's like what kind of Matt you want to see, and I feel like even like regular Matt from the his own show, he's got that dry, sarcastic wit that he's always had. And you would not have to write him very differently to have him fit within more of a dramedy context. He can seriously do both, and you would not feel like they're violating, like they're breaking the rules for the character or anything. So I do think that the people who are overly concerned about this, hopefully there's not much reason to be concerned, because I do think that even the character, as we've seen him so far, does have a natural range that allows him to fit within this type of story.
I'm looking forward to sort of a wilder, funnier, freer Matt, because this is Matt post blip. And if somebody wants to do the snap math for me, what year are we supposed to be in with the show? Like 2023, 4?
23 or 24, I would say.
If we go like time wise, I mean, he's a different person, probably a little bit.
And this is supposed to be a continuation of the character. So after the end of season 3, he was in a better place. Mentally, he had his friends back, had this new budding relationship with his mother. So he's in a different place. He's not just going to brood all the time. I mean, I'm sure he will. We all need that.
Yeah, we all do that, don't we? He'll find a spot to brood in, I'm sure.
Yeah, but yeah, he's in a better place. And I guess it also depends on post-snap what happened to him. And, we haven't had confirmation yet of Foggy and Karen returning, but my fingers are crossed, and I think we all are.
Yeah. No, there's so many answers, I think, that we all want, and that I think we're going to get at least some answers with this, because it's, like compared to his other previous appearance post Daredevil in No Way Home, that was just such a brief scene. Like, we learned that he was okay. He's out there practicing law, catching bricks. He's doing that, but we don't know. That's literally the only thing we know. And we don't know, like you said, what happened with the snap. Was he snapped? Who knows? Either way, I mean, there's going to be, and even like the whole thing that he's got this old costume, but with a new twist. It does appear to be like the exact same, but just like painted or with different colors, which is interesting. And I know a lot of people are reading into that too, because it's like, whoa, this is this is proof that it's the old stuff is canon, which I don't think we were all that concerned about. Anyway, I think it's pretty obvious that they're doing a continuation of some kind. But anyway, there's a lot of, I think there will be room now that he's going to have at least like more presence in this show than that brief one scene. So we're going to find some stuff out, and that's going to be really, really interesting. But also, I was thinking we could maybe talk about like some other characters we're looking forward to seeing in the She-Hulk show. And I should mention that I did try to find, because one of the villains is this Titania character. And she, for people who want to check it out, she and She-Hulk meet during Secret Wars. Or is it Secret War? I always get the two mixed up. There's one Secret War and then there's Secret Wars, two different stories. Anyway. But they have, in the comics, a long-standing rivalry, and she also appears, I know, during the Soule and Polito issues at the end of that run, too. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with her, but there's, like, so many different players.
Abomination, I know a lot of people are excited.
I'm glad we're finally following up with Abomination, because it happened during when Ed Norton was the Hulk, and then we just never really talked about it again. Well, except in Daredevil, in Ben Urich's office, he had a cover talking about it, but that was the most we ever got for follow-up.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be really interesting to see how they
And
incorporate that
I
stuff.
am a Benedict Wong fangirl, so anytime that Wong gets to make an appearance, it is the Wong cinematic universe to me.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm excited about that. Anytime Wong shows up and says, "Here's what we got to do. We need your help. Let's go."
And Wong also introduces an interesting way to travel since he can open portals and just transport himself very easily over great distances. So I'm wondering if for Matt and Jennifer, if they are gonna like meet each other in New York or in LA, and how they each got to where the other person is. If it's like either some Wong travel agency through the portal, or if they are traveling the
Oh
old-fashioned
God, will
way.
we
Or
get? Can we see Matt in the airport? That'd be great. Oh,
yeah,
is Matt? Oh,
yeah.
Christine, is Matt flying the plane?
Oh yeah. Matt has done a surprising amount of piloting in the Daredevil comic. Probably not something we would want to see adapted for either the big or the small screen. But
Tatiana Maslany, did you guys watch Orphan Black?
yes, I loved
I
it.
always trust Marvel casting, and I think she's gonna nail it.
Yeah, she's been. I just love everything I've seen of her so far, and I loved Orphan Black, and just the way she, like in Orphan Black, when you have one actor playing so many, they're all clones, so they're also separate people. They're not just manifestations of one person. They're all very separate people, and she does it so well. You can see, even just looking at her face, you can see exactly which clone she was playing, and super impressed with her as an actress. So yeah, I think she also, I love how they all seem to have a lot of fun
And we get
making this.
Jamila Jamil as Tatiana. It's very exciting. I loved her in The Good Place.
Are we gonna get sexy time?
There is that rumor going around. Some brown chicken, brown cow.
Yeah.
Oh, but one thing I did want to talk about though, I do love that as someone who has read like all the Silver Age comics and everything, the fact that she seems to be in some kind of like superhero support group with the Matador and Manbull in that scene, that's just hilarious to me. I love that. I wonder I wonder if there's going to be like a lot of Easter eggs for I mean I guess there will be. I'm sure they're going to like, because that would work so well with something that's a dramedy, to just have a bunch of Easter eggs just for the fun of it. And I wonder if there's going to be any guest stars that we're not aware of. And I also do wonder how many episodes that Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is going to be in. If it's just like the first two,
Yeah,
or
everybody I think is sort of like in, how many, who's going to be in what. We first heard Matt in only 2 episodes, and now it seems like it could be more than that.
yeah, I know we should probably. I've seen some people speculate that because if you go to like the IMDb page for the show, they have like several characters that are listed for like all 9 episodes, including Charlie Cox, or at least they did. Let's see what it says now. Yeah, it still says 9 episodes. And I would not put too much stock in that, because that's quite common, that you have a show before it's come out. It says Wong 9 episodes, Tim Roth 9 episodes, Mark Ruffalo 9 episodes. That's not gonna. They're not all gonna be in 9 episodes.
Yeah, there were some early rumors about Jessica Jones, but I'm thinking maybe we just get maybe a name drop or something.
Hmm.
If Jessica will also show up in California. That would be wild.
But at least there's someone in here called, I was just looking at the IMDb page now, and one actor is listed as bar patron / diner. So I hope that means there's at least going to be a bar scene. You guys are requesting a bar scene. I'm like, well, there's at least a bar patron. It could be anything, but
I'm excited about watching her, her journey between Jen and She-Hulk. And like she's talked about being sort of not noticed as Jen Walters, and when she luxurious and tall. And
I did like during the trailer, she was like, oh no, but I like these shoes. It's like, girl, same.
yeah. And there's also that great scene where like the Hulk is like, spandex is your best friend, which is like, of course, because that I also hope that they do like more of a modern thing with that, but because they do, like, they'll have the She-Hulk costume, and I guess she will wear that underneath whatever else she's wearing, so that regardless of like who, what body she's in, she could just like, she'll have that, stretch to fit her. because that's the thing too with like the very first run, just like, her cousin, Bruce Banner, when he changes to the Hulk, he always ends up with those like little purple shorts or whatever, which is like regardless of what he's wearing. But She-Hulk, regardless of what she's wearing, will always end up wearing what looks like a torn negligee. And
oh wow,
it's kind of it's an interesting look. I'll say that. Although I mean, in the writer's defense, it's not as if the male version of the Hulk is wearing all that much either, but it looks like a skimpy, sexy outfit, So it's better for her to be wearing whatever that, the white, purple, kind of like bike shorts type. It's a unitard. Unitard was the word I was looking for. Yeah. So that looks much more practical. So do we have anything? We are all super hyped. I mean, and I would be, like we were saying at the beginning, even without the Daredevil appearances, what I've seen so far looks really like fun and interesting. But of course, the Daredevil stuff takes it to like.
Did we all watch Miss Marvel? I mean, Miss Marvel to me was Disney Plus doing television right, so that has got me excited about everything in the future. And anytime we get more female she power, I'm ready for that.
I really enjoyed Miss Marvel. I really did. That was like one of the first Disney Plus shows that I'll go back and rewatch.
And it felt like proper television too. Like it's something that was paced like a TV show. And speaking of which, I think one thing we should mention also before we go about She-Hulk is that it is, from what I heard, that the episodes are going to have a runtime of about 35 minutes, which I assume is going to be like basically 30 minutes since they always do like 5 minutes of like post-credit scenes, or like not even post-credit. That would be fun if there were post-credit scenes, but no, it's just the credits go on for like 5 freaking minutes, which it feels kind of wasteful. And another thing that's what they do in the movies, Marvel. You don't have to do that for TV, like at all. You don't have to.
Oh, I liked it.
The post-credit scenes are fine, but like the credits, just like, okay, I mean, it's nice that you can see everyone who worked on every single episode, but maybe do that like at the end of like all the episodes so people can.
Yeah, they'll be like 28-minute episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they're going to be probably, because they're going to be 9 episodes at least. So it's like going to be more episodes than what we're used to. But I think maybe they are going for more of like a sitcom format for like how long the episodes are. And I mean, if they're well paced and they do it right, then it'll probably feel like substantial and stuff. But I do hope that they can get stuff going pretty quickly so that you're like sucked into the story and it's got a nice, good pacing to it. That's I hope they nail that.
Yeah. They keep going, Marvel. You did it with Miss Marvel, so
going in the right direction. With that said, I think we pretty much covered our final thoughts. I think we're all just pretty hyped for this stuff. And like I said, I will go back and read more She-Hulk. And
I think I will too. Now I'm intrigued by the Savage She-Hulk run.
Yeah, like I said, it was like way better than I thought it was going to be.
I hope that this show is the biggest show yet. And this just leads to more Matt and Jen in the future, on the page, on the screen, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think that's a perfect ending. We want to thank everyone for listening, and hope you had fun with us, and I hope we all get to celebrate and enjoy the She-Hulk series as it comes out.
Yeah,
and
I think we'll be back. We'll be back with Echo in the future. We'll do some Echo.
Yes, and I think we'll also probably be back with an episode about She-Hulk after She-Hulk has concluded too, most likely. Yeah. So we can look back and see whether our expectations were met. So, but that's a few weeks away. We get to enjoy this for 9 weeks. Okay. Well, we'll just round it off here and just say thanks everyone again for listening, and over and out.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Talk Daredevil. For more information about Saved Daredevil, including links to our socials, please visit us at savedaredevil.com. Remember, Murdocks always get back up.